So you wanna hear something that I think is a pretty quintessential 1-3 profile interaction?
Sure. I always do.
So the other morning,
This would be
uh
about Presley, I imagine.
yeah, this is about Presley. So the other morning, he's like getting set up on the couch, he has his coffee, he's turning on his laptop, and he looks at the dog and he's like, Bailey, I got a lot of things to research. And so I asked him, I was like, what are you researching? He's like, I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. And I
That
was
is
like,
good.
okay.
Noted. I know that feeling. So many things I have to learn today.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Human Design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, your Human Design guide.
And I'm Haley, on this journey with you to uncover the power of human design.
Together, we're here to explore how embracing your authentic self is the ultimate path to a life of more freedom and fulfillment.
Welcome to the Human Design Hive Podcast. Let's get into it.
Good morning, Haley. How you doing today?
Hello, Keith.
Good to see you. How's things going out there in Colorado?
Well, it just snowed for 3 days straight.
Wow. I thought about that while it was 80 degrees here. I was just like, no, I don't know that I wanted to be in the snow, but I was also like, oh, man, I'm ready for some sleeves. I got to short sleeves today. I was no
I'm in short
sleeves
sleeves.
yesterday. Well,
We're
yeah.
supposed to be into like the mid 50s today.
Oh, well.
Yeah, melt
Heat
the rest of
wave.
the snow. Yeah. Yeah, we got a lot of snow.
Really nice.
Probably like between a foot and 2 feet, I would say, for sure.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was fun.
So, how's the mood out there? I know you don't talk to many people, but let's just say the
Um,
stark difference after this week. We all know that we had the election here this week in the
mhm,
United States, and it was not my preferred outcome. It's definitely not the outcome I worked for, but it is what it is. I
mhm,
live in a deeply red state, South Carolina,
mhm,
and we did for the first time have some Democratic challengers, just not enough.
mhm,
As far as, once again, my local district rep is someone I fully disagree with. But you live in Colorado,
mhm.
which is definitely turned more blue. There's a lot of
Yes.
red
Uh-huh.
counties and whatnot, but you have a Democratic governor
Mhm,
and some other things. And of course, Colorado electoral votes went Democratic.
mhm.
So, how does it feel to be somewhere that feels more supportive that way?
Well,
Does it or doesn't it? Day to day, it doesn't probably.
I don't know. It's difficult. It's not unsettling. It's, I don't know, disappointing
Mm-hmm.
that the rest of the country couldn't get on board.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, in the actual like state legislature
Mm-hmm.
of Colorado, there were some other good things.
Mm-hmm.
The proposition to include the right to abortion was passed, so that's going
Mm.
to go into the Constitution.
Okay.
The proposition to remove the wording that same-sex marriage was not illegal, that passed. That also is going to be removed from the Constitution.
Oh,
Which
so
both
right now
things,
it says it's actually illegal in Colorado?
yes, but
Okay.
both things, abortion and same-sex marriage, were legal. When I was reading my ballot and I saw the one about same-sex marriage, I was like, is it illegal here in Colorado? And then I read and I was like, no, it's legal. It's just
Oh, it
the
wasn't in the
Constitution.
Constitution. Oh, okay. I
Well,
know.
the Constitution
I
still marked it as illegal,
right.
but we voted to remove that. I was like, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So that
Well,
was positive things, but federally, it's a little
I, it's a
upsetting.
little unsettling here. I mean, I held no illusions that suddenly South Carolina was going to join the 21st century, but it there was a ballot measure for our state constitution, which was the opposite of yours, not about abortion or anything, but it was a one word they wanted to change in the Constitution,
Oh.
which had to do with voting rights. And
Mm.
the word was any to only, because it was worded something about any resident, any legal resident of South Carolina, blah, 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 about participating in the voting and having the right to vote on stuff to
Mhm.
only. So I tried to do some digging into that. Why is it so significant? Why do we have to change that one word? Because,
Mhm.
and let's just, of course, put it out there that this was not talked about anywhere in the information field about voting in South Carolina, of course. Like, I am somebody that I kept checking my registration to make sure all of us were registered.
Mhm.
And which I found out somebody that I know here that she is a white woman of sort of my age, found out when she week or day before that she was somehow not registered anymore.
Oh.
Um, yeah, it was weird. But the point being, you look up to make sure you're registered, and then I like to look what's on the ballot because I don't know about there. Well, you guys have mail-in ballots. We don't have those here. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
the norm, right? You
Right.
can vote early.
Mail in is standard here. And on to your point of looking at ballot measures,
Mm-hmm.
the state actually sent out for, and it's called like a blue book, and it's literally every single proposition or ballot measure, like anything that's gonna be on the ballot besides like people, but any like measure that they're gonna have, they put it into this booklet, and it's all in one spot that you can look at, and it has like summarized versions of the proposition and like what a yes would mean, what a no would mean, and then it has like detailed things as well. And I was like, damn, thank
Yeah.
you.
Wow. What a what an idea, an informed electorate. No, I had to look up this what at one was about a county tax that I voted against, and another one was about this one word, and it was really focused on more on the local level, like in municipal races and everything
Hmm.
else. That if you change this one word to only legal residents, it would change how people like school board elections, like all these different types of things.
Hmm.
No, but it's just it's been today's Sunday, so hasn't quite been a week yet. Things are still settling, but I know that a lot of people, myself included, were uh just
Gutted.
very gutted. Yeah, that's the word I used a lot.
Hmm.
And how it felt is just terrible. Wednesday was a terrible day.
I saw a reel that it was like, does anyone else think that since we had Halloween, daylight savings, and election day all in one week, that we've jumped into an alternate universe?
Yeah, well, there has been talk about we have entered the new timeline, and I'm not uh averse to that idea because it does feel like such a strange like split. And I've been seeing so many strange things on threads and social media. I had stopped for a while, but what I'm seeing a
Wednesday,
lot.
I
Oh
did not
no.
get on Instagram at all. I
Oh,
couldn't
you
do
don't
it.
want. No, I don't want to see a lot. It was a lot. I mean, but there's a lot of chatter among astrologers in the more witchy community, the intuitives, a lot of people having the experience on Wednesday. They said that, I mean, I was reading it last night. It was thousands of posts of women in particular be like, did anybody else like jolt awake at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m.? Like everybody kind of woke up at the same time on Wednesday. And
Mhm.
it was just strange. I'm like, I wake up every night. They also associate that time with the witching hour. You heard of the
Uh-huh.
witching hour where
3
it's
a.m. Oh,
close to the veil. So
yeah.
it's threads. It's still a social media. There's still an algorithm involved. I mean, I find it to be a better place to kind of get a finger on the pulse of what people are
Mhm.
talking about because it's definitely more aligned than any god awful
X.
garbage. Yeah, on X, but it's there's this overall sense of like doom at the same time with like a lot of upliftment. And it was Wednesday. When you say shifting timelines or whatever you said to jumping
Alternate
to
universe.
alternate
Yeah.
universe, like I was really shocked at the amount of like physical sensation I had in my body, in my head, of
Mm-hmm.
the shock of the moment or just the reality of what is happening, what has happened. What about you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what was your mood like? Were you,
I mean, it was definitely like defeated, and like I just was so surprised. Like I didn't think so many people would vote for that, because
mm-hmm,
I had more hope in the country and how
mm-hmm,
people felt. But at the same time, like I I knew that I couldn't go too deep, too
yes,
sad on it. And I
yes,
was like, no, how can I literally had this thought. I was like, how can I, as a 6'2" projector,
mm-hmm,
make things better? Because I was like, I can't let this win, basically. I was like, how can I do things to make it better?
just touched a little piece of my heart. I love that. I know. I think it's important, yes, did both and continue to do both. But what happened happened. And I want to also not do the whole thing of what they call spiritual bypassing or toxic positivity, where it's just like ignoring what has
Right.
happened,
That doesn't
right?
help.
And so that day was a very hard day. It felt defeated, felt
Hmm.
hopeless. And but I knew when I woke up, I intentionally did not look at my phone throughout the night. I did wake up several times, but I did not look. I wanted to get a night of peaceful sleep because I didn't go to bed watching it either. I just was like, it's
Hmm.
going to happen. What's going to happen is going to happen. And
Yeah.
I really thought it would be going on for much longer time, but
Hmm.
so but the gutted feeling I had, a rage. It felt so when I finally had to pick myself up and go talk to your dad, who hadn't heard yet. I mean, the only thing I could think was it just doesn't feel safe. And if I don't feel safe as a white woman, white middle-aged woman,
Hmm.
like I can't imagine how other people might be feeling because it really felt like what's nothing's going to stop him and what's going to happen and all the people that are in his administration that have engineered this, they're not, those people that have their agendas
Hmm.
are not good.
Right.
Now I'm making that statement, and because I don't believe they are. I believe that I'm not saying
Because
that the people that voted across the board, across the country, I don't believe that they are not good. I believe that the
yeah,
people that are um, grasping
he
this
he is.
fear and
Yeah.
feeding into it and using it for their own gain
Hmm.
are not good.
Yeah. And Trump is not going to surround himself with people that go
Check
against
them.
his. Yeah.
Yeah, let's not assume.
He's not going to do that, and I don't believe he is a good person. So he's going to surround himself with people that he
Yeah,
likes.
yeah.
That's the
He is a
easiest way to say it.
he's a flawed person for sure. But um but I did give myself the, just like, okay, just deal with it because you do have to process the
Hmm.
emotions. And I realized another day or so, I was like, oh, maybe that is a function of my emotional wave because I also didn't want to go out and speak publicly about anything either, about what I was thinking or feeling. Like my emotional clarity had to have that time to ruminate, marinate, be moody about it, be
Hmm.
this about it, and then decide where my is going to be. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. And I love what you said about how am I going to do this, right?
Hmm.
And what has happened is, in all its awfulness, is also, I think, I don't want to say essential like it had to happen, but it's a part of growth. right?
Yeah.
We talk about it. Karen Curry Parker calls it these cycles of disruption that happen in our lifetime. And these are these shocking moments in life.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's actual physical trauma. Sometimes it's very deep. I mean, I I I hesitate to throw around the word trauma talking about this because I really don't want to like say it glibly, and which I think people use that word a lot for blanket statements. But trauma is when you do get knocked off your center. It's when
Mm-hmm.
what you thought was going to happen doesn't happen, or what you believed, whatever you thought is brought to your like something just totally disrupts that, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And all big or small traumas affect us. And this
Yeah.
was for a lot of people, it was a really big one. Um there's so many layers to it. Like I don't want to get off topic where I wanted to go today, but I'm sure it's something that will be in the conversation like for quite a while because it's at this moment not going away. And
Yeah.
and when these things happen, these are moments that are these choice point moments, like you said. How can I, what can I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to be? And I would like to say, in the interim, right now, in the actual, how am I going to handle this thing from a human design perspective? I just wanted to give a little bit of, um, I don't want to say insight, but thought into where I go, what I think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you said, what can I do as a 6-2 projector? Like, what came up for you? Did anything come up, or you have anything you want to share, or thoughts that occurred to you around that?
I mean, it kind of led me back to like the kind of idea that I've had for a while of having that like kind of community. But that's, I mean, that's pretty much where I went, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the extent of it
That's okay.
in the
um,
moment.
yeah, no, that's good. Well, I think first thing we have to think about how we're going to move forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of us, apparently, in this country, we are going to be in contact with people who maybe don't agree with us, and we're finding out that it may be more widespread than we thought.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for me, it always comes back to looking at your own design and, like you said, how am I affected? And I think as you start moving through your days and your interactions with people, it is important to know where it is that you are going to be personally, I think, affected or triggered, or whatever you want to call it. Another word I hate to use all the time, triggered. But
Mm-hmm.
because if you have a grasp of your design and like where your openness is, where you're undefined, you start to, if you can observe your behavior and your interactions, you start to um, kind of gain back that control over what's happening. Because if you realize that you are possibly with an undefined spleen amplifying other people's fears, the collective fears, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
if you are emotionally undefined there, are you maybe acquiescing too much? Are you reacting to the emotions, the strong emotions of those
Mm-hmm.
around you? There's a lot of strong emotions right now.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you going to figure out what's yours and what's not yours? Are you going to be reactive to it? Because if we look at the chart, we know between that spleen and the solar plexus, there's that reactionary movement, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
the intentional movement of the emotional creativity. And I think big time the spleen got triggered. We just went through
Yeah.
all those spleen gates. It's like,
Oh God, I forgot about that.
yeah. This reaction is what's happened, is this total um function there of the spleen. It's our survival.
Mm-hmm.
It's the adrenaline. It got everything like hyped up,
Yeah.
right? But do we want to create in that direction? Well, yes and no. I mean, it's part of what we do, but at the same time, we also want to look at the other side of the chart, which takes more time and more intention and more
Mhm.
focused on how you want to feel. And so, also looking in your chart, the undefined areas, obviously head and ajna, what ideas are swirling around, being very, if you're open in the head or ajna, well, ajna in particular, be very careful about the information you're taking in.
Mhm.
Um, find reliable, balanced sources of information. There's a newsletter on Substack that I found that I subscribe to called Tangle, and it takes issues of the day. Of course, you can go back and read a lot of them,
Mhm.
but the person who does it, I think it's just one person, um, looks at the left perspective, the right perspective, and then his own perspective of what is going on. So he actually cites sources like this is what they're saying, this is what they're saying about the same event, about things that are
Oh,
happening.
okay. That's cool.
Finding places like that. There's lots of sources where you can get a more unbiased approach, which is going to be really, really important because
Mhm.
now is not the time to go further into our silos and into our tribes. It's not.
Yeah.
And I've been having this conversation with people and saying this since the election because um like Lakeland, for example, the next day at school was very hard for her at a coastal because there was a
Mhm.
lot of we are in the South. There was a lot of
It's even a
young,
little bit more south there than
yeah, young
Myrtle.
white men who were proudly displaying their hats and, all this stuff. And she was very upset that this girl, she said, had the nerve. She said she had the audacity to say good morning to me because she was wearing a MAGA hat and it
Mm.
really bothered her. And I understand that reaction. But then I was like, but if she said good morning to you, was she genuine? She goes, I think she was. And I'm like, well, this is the point. We can't, you know, just blanket condemn uh, everybody that we think we know why they voted for Trump,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, my husband voted for Trump and I don't
Yeah.
love it, but I still love him.
Yeah. And your husband and I have talked many times about
Mhm.
these issues, and he's not a racist, he's not a sexist, he's not all these things, but he's one of those economic Republicans, and that's
Mhm.
that. And when Lakeland said there's people that didn't vote, which is what I mostly have an issue with, but
Mhm.
even the ones that voted green third party, they're voting their conscience. They voted the way they want to. We have to honor that we didn't like the outcome, but good God, we still are the country that is supposed to really cement the ideals of democracy in the world.
Mhm.
And it's we're not going to agree with each other all the time. That's the point. But it's not the time to just condemn someone who's not on your side as far
Mhm.
as the broad issues, right?
Yeah. Because
There.
that if you do that, that just fosters more hate instead of
Mhm.
actually having a conversation with people and moving towards understanding.
Yeah. And it's just the same that if someone were to just look at me because I did vote for Kamala Harris to be like, think that I agreed with everything she said, that I am the far right side paints all people who are more liberal leaning as crazy leftist Marxist Antifa,
Snowflakes.
like just, and that's not me either. And
Right.
that's the same if there's people on the right that are not these far right crazy conspiratorial people. They are also unhappy with the system, the way things are right now, and they just picked a side, right? We
Mhm.
all picked a side. I could say things in private, which I would, that really like, I don't get it. I can get very angry, upset as well.
Mhm.
But outward facing in the world, I want to always have a measure of respect for other people. And it's the quote I keep coming back to, which is one I actually first heard from Marianne Williamson, which which is a quote from Martin Luther King Jr., which said, "You have very little morally persuasive power with people who can feel your underlying contempt." And that has been something that rings true and I've always held on to is
Mm-hmm.
we're talking all the time here about energy, do we not? Our
Yeah.
exchange of energy. And if our energy is walking into the room with this judgment and this condemnation,
Abrasiveness.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
who's gonna who's going to acquiesce to that? I mean, it's like because that's also a big teaching in the Course of Miracles is that you have to remain open. You have to release the judgment in order for the miracle to
Mm-hmm.
occur, meaning for things you didn't quite expect or the interactions you have, because people, we are always exchanging energy with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so in your undefined areas, you have to be aware of really who you are, where you stand, and understanding what's your energy and what's not. So you can kind of have a handle on that. Are you going to be more reactive or are you going to be more intentional with how you deal with people?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard that quote before from me?
I don't know,
I
but I
love
mean,
it. I
it's a
come
great
back to the
quote.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. We have to, and let's not forget, we're also right now in this time as we did our November sun transits, a lot of individual energy
Mm-hmm.
that we are experiencing right now. That on November 5th, that was gate one. We were expressing ourselves. And I do believe there's been manipulation involved on both sides as far as what we're perceiving, what we understand, what we know. And so it's going to be more and more important, like I said, to understand your own self and your own center and know about that, know about what's important to you. And so,
Mm-hmm.
just on a or technical, or how do you really get back to that? How do you get back to your center, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's when you feel yourself off kilter? I mean, do you recognize it? Can you feel it? Do you know how to like kind of put yourself back in um the
Um,
groove?
I think it's a lot of times more of an unconscious thing for me when I do kind of feel off. But I think how I get back is I tend to lean towards things that help me express my creativity.
Oh my god, I love you said that. I love that you said that. I mean, this is where this is all going, this conversation. And we did not suss this out
No.
before. Yes, well, I would say like first aid, what I like to call it, what you can do.
Mhm.
Because I love what you said there. That's great. That's part of it. But first aid and what I implemented that day on November 6th
Mhm.
was things that can help regulate your nervous system again, get you back into regulation. Because I don't know if it was last week's episode we were talking, or which episode it was, talking about when fear enters the room, you
Mhm.
almost dissociate from the physical body. It's like you go into future thinking, you go
Mhm.
into all these future past fears, right? And
Right.
so you have to bring yourself back into the present moment because that is where your safety is in the present
Mhm.
moment.
Mhm.
And that involves one, I think, processing that emotional energy, allowing it to move through you.
Mhm.
Because as if you're emotionally defined, like me, you have to know that the longer you try to, or not the longer, the more, when you're trying to, when you stay in the low, too much, it prolongs the energy of being able to smooth back out. Because
Right.
if you're in a low and you're feeling low and you keep adding more onto that low, like trying to
Mhm.
figure out why you're low or really just tapping into all those like everything's wrong thoughts, right?
Yes. Mhm.
It makes it harder to get back out. It takes longer. If you're undefined, if you're feeling all that emotional energy from people and soaking it up like a sponge and holding on to it, that's
Mhm.
also not going to be good. So we tend to stuff our emotions down. We don't let them come out because they're messy, they're uncomfortable. You said you like to cry in the shower.
Oh yeah. It's great.
Don't like crying in public, that's for sure. I don't. I will I will say I Wednesday morning I did some screaming in my pillow. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing to say, but I did because it was such raw emotion. Like it felt like it was grief. It was like a death almost, just
Mhm.
like so overwhelming because it seems like such a long, tall hill we're gonna have to climb, but it's not. We're
Mhm.
farther along than we think. But so how to regulate your nervous system. Some of my favorite ways, besides just taking some deep breaths and paying attention to your breath,
Mhm.
immediately, the tapping as well. And there's lots of resources out there for tapping scripts. I'm sure several apps, but one in particular is the Tapping Solution app. Nick Ortner, who not became, but who really helped bring tapping into the uh, mainstream here in
Mainstream.
the US.
Mhm.
I think they have a free version of their app, pretty sure. But even just the basics of tapping, even if you don't know what to say, especially when you're just feeling that emotion, you can
I
just
mean,
literally
sometimes it's
tap.
hard to put
Mhm.
emotion into words.
Yeah.
You just have to feel it.
And you have just tapping on the points, which the top of the head, the eyebrow point, the side of the eye, under the nose, under the mouth, collarbone, and then on the side of your body while you're feeling those emotions. If you can speak them out loud, it's even better. It really just helps take that really severe edge off of it so that
Mhm.
you can then process it a little bit easier. Maybe journaling or just calming yourself down a little bit
Mhm.
is very helpful.
So.
Okay. So tapping, breath work, actually moving your physical body because
Mhm.
we talked about this with the spleen centers and the awareness, or the yeah, it was I think just last week's episode about sacral and the spleen and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
And in the free report we have, which is the ways to improve your well-being,
Hi.
this is
Mhm.
all in there. It's like moving your body that gets you back into the moment, and it doesn't mean you
Mhm.
have to do anything special. You can literally just walk. You can just
Mhm.
do some stretches, just
Sometimes for me, it's even
dance.
just like tapping my fingers. Like
Yeah.
tapping my thumbs can help sometimes.
Well, those are tapping points. What do you mean tapping your thumbs? How?
Like I'll just like tap my thumb like
Oh,
on my
okay.
desk or whatever.
I know there are points on your nail beds on the
Mm.
inside of the nail, inside when I mean the side facing you type thing, if you're holding,
Mhm.
tapping on those, because originally tapping, like the whole emotional freedom technique, the version we do now is a very condensed version. The guy, Gary Craig, that first like helped bring all this stuff forth, it was a full like it was a whole process. It looked like you're doing some kind of ceremonial dance. But we distilled it down to a few things. But yeah, so one of my favorite things and what I eventually had to do on Wednesday, I had to get out of my house. Like I had to
Mhm.
go outside. I didn't want to. I really didn't, because I felt like it was written all over me how I felt,
Mm.
and just knowing that I live in an area that didn't support that fully felt again vulnerable and unsafe. But then I was just like, you know what? I need some fresh air. Need to get outside. Need to feel the wind on your face, birds chirping.
You
The
almost need to
world,
be brought back into reality,
you
like
do. The
into the
world is still
physical.
here.
Mhm.
Yeah, the world is still here. Spending time with your pets, just
I hugged Bailey a lot. I'm
hanging
actually
out.
petting her right this
I know.
moment. She's right next to me.
And not like being with your pet and thinking about how awful the world is, but just like really just appreciate the effect that they can have on you,
Mhm.
calming effect on you have.
Yeah.
Words trying to come out of my mouth right now. Being around people that you love that make you feel good. Like these are ways to help you just kind of regain that balance, right?
Mhm.
That first aid. So, as you said, that we can feel the shock, the moment of disruption, and understand that something has changed. There's no going back to the way things were.
Mhm.
This is the reality now. We have to recenter and decide where to go from here. And so that's the first part. And so, as I was really trying to collect my thoughts about what I wanted to offer here from my perspective of what I believe and how I think I can help people through
Mhm.
human design and mindset and all this other stuff. All this other stuff.
Mhm.
From a human design perspective, I feel very strongly that it is about more than ever understanding who you are. And as you said, how can I contribute?
Mhm.
And there was something in particular I was looking for this morning in Karen Curry Parker's work about, she talks a lot about resiliency keys that each, I think we even did a little bit of an episode on one of once, that there's these 9 specific things to tap into to build your resiliency. And it's like self love and courage and all these other different words or these emotions, or whatever
Mhm.
you want to call them. And so I was kind of looking around for that. But what I lit upon instead was again going back to this conditioning and how we are conditioned, but really how our reality is shaped through the filter of us and what we think about ourselves and our reality.
Mhm.
It's um, a lot of it has been shaped by other people until you start figuring out who you are and what you
Mhm.
think, right? You know, the
Mhm.
family imprinting and just all these things. And so she went into, again, I was just reading this really brief part about how we are encoded with our human design.
Mhm.
Okay. And this is one of that part where it talks about the design crystal, the personality crystal, and the monopole.
Mhm.
And take it how you want. It is, every time I read it, it still sounds a little weird to me. You know, that was just like, but I like the way she says it. She just succinctly says, "This is what happened." She says that at the moment of your conception, design crystal, which are not actual crystals, they're just like codes of energy, or whatever
Mhm.
you call it, is called forth from the earth through your father's DNA. And then it is literally what is, you know, these codes, these energetic codes, whatever you want to call it, the energy that's there is what starts taking the all the different cells of a fetus and forming it into a baby. It's what's like helping inform the vehicle, because that's what the
Mhm.
design side of your chart is your body. It's the physical vehicle that is going to then carry your personality crystal through life, right? So
Mhm.
it has all the information there that is going to help you move through the world. But also, when that design crystal is formed and is doing the work, the magnetic monopole is part of it at the same time. And
Mhm.
we, you know, and the magnetic monopole is that part of our existence that is drawing to us what we need in order to
Mhm.
live out this experience, the things that are going to help us the most, right?
Mhm.
She says that at birth, what happens is the personality crystal comes in. That's our soul. That's
Mhm.
the expression part of us. Personality crystal resides in the head
Mhm.
center. The design crystal moves into the ajna center. And
Mm.
then the magnetic monopole moves into the G center. And it's
Mhm.
these aspects of ourselves, which is all the different, um, the activations in our chart, the neutrinos, the things that we see in our chart are the filter through which everything, our experiences and what we bring towards us and what we decide our experience and our reality is going to be is going through these at all times. And you think about it, that's like
Mm-hmm.
how we see ourselves, our identity, but also what we think and how we think, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so if you're if you're creating your reality through that, what you think about yourself and what you think about what you're here to do or whatever becomes even more important because that's going to help shape your reality. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
So I wanted to read this passage from her book because it really succinctly helped me like formulate what I wanted to to impart. And it says this, right? It's about
Okay.
the meanings that we give to these things shape our reality.
Mm-hmm.
She said in her book, this is from the Encyclopedia of Human Quantum. What is it? The Encyclopedia Quantum Human Design, I believe it's called.
Okay.
Okay, so she said the most important thing you can do right now to support the creation of an equitable, sustainable, and peaceful world is to begin a systematic exploration of the meanings you hold about who you are, why you're here, and what you're capable of. The most significant part of our work at this time, as volunteers here to birth this new world, is to untangle humanity from old collective and personal beliefs about lack and limitation. Our human design shows us that the highest potential expression of humanity is rooted in love, capital L. We are designed to love ourselves, love each other, and create from a deep connection to a loving spiritual source. This is true for all of us personally and collectively. And end quote.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is where I wanted to lead this conversation as we
Mm-hmm.
sort of wrap it up is that, as I said, how we perceive ourselves determines the filter through which our world can be born, the
Mm-hmm.
world that we want to see. And so that comes to, well, what is going to be your impact? You said, what can I do as a 6-2 projector? You definitely came here to fulfill a certain piece of the puzzle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're all different. And all the little codes that came through you, even though there's going to be some similarities in our family energetic history, you have your own completely unique way of expressing. And as you move through this really kind of turbulent and confusing time, I want to hopefully, I want to, what do I want to say? I have what I want to say, but I got to figure out how to say it. To shift away from the idea that this is happening to us or happening to you, right? That
Mm-hmm.
this election, these things are happening to us, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because that takes your power away when you see yourself as at the effect of this, like this happened. This is also in the journey of personal development, of reshaping your narrative in your world, is to understand that things aren't happening to you. They always say they're happening for you. Now, I know that can sound a little shallow and crass at this moment to say, oh, it's happening for me. It's just for your good. But the point isn't that. It's to say that when you say this is happening to me, it disempowers you
Mm-hmm.
because it implies that you don't have any control over the situation, takes your power away.
Yeah.
So, what power do you have in any moment?
How you react to things.
How you
That's your
react to
biggest
things.
power.
And what meaning you're going to give these things. And this has been the biggest shift in my life is taking these experiences of things that have happened. What can I take away from them? What can I learn from them? What was it here to show me? And I think this whole instance is to show us that one, I think there, like I said, I do think there are players in this game that are not acting honorably.
Mm-hmm.
There is an intention here to divide us
Mm-hmm.
wholeheartedly. And when you look at what's happening, how can you step back and say, okay, what am I going to do with this? What does this mean? Right?
Mhm.
When I say what power do you have, you said your reaction, how you decide to move forward, but also this is where I want you to maybe encourage you to look at your design again of your consistency, of your defined areas. What was encoded on you at birth? What did you bring forward into this lifetime that was going to be your skill set of how
Mhm.
you were going to positively impact the collective? Especially looking at your incarnation cross, those main energies there.
Mhm.
What are your strengths? What are the things that, no matter what you're doing, are impacting those around you, your energy? And how can you be the highest expression of that, which takes some, you know, maybe working on the deconditioning, pulling back those layers, but really understanding those layers of yourself that are going to be received by those around you. Are you putting out what you really want to be putting out? Especially, like I always say, if you're emotionally defined,
Mhm.
I feel very strongly about you are holding the emotional frequency in the room. It's like
Mhm.
you are the one that is going to be setting the tone. What do you want to set? Do you want to set a tone of fear and anger and all these other stuff? Or do you want to set a more calm? I'm not talking about being complacent or again that
Mhm.
toxic positivity, but I'm talking about allowing a space where something can happen, some new kind of relationship can be born, a new connection.
Mhm.
Because I carry the channel 59 6. I carry 59 twice and I carry 6 twice, and they're both in my unconscious design. That 6 is gate of impact, friction, where you want to call it, but it's also where diplomacy lives in this
Mhm.
whole area. And it's diplomacy is understanding that you're not always going to get everything you want, but you have to open yourself up and listen to
Mhm.
what others need.
Mhm.
And there's not enough of that. There's too much of this black and white, you and me, blah blah blah. It's just
Us
like,
versus them.
yeah, we're never going to move forward in that way.
Mhm.
And so where are your strengths? Getting very familiar with your chart, understanding how you're going to, you said as a projector, what is my role as a projector? Well, your role is to kind of help to hold that potential possibility of how we can use our energy wisely and
Mhm.
together, how can we move that forward? 6-2, there's lots that can go there. But if you're a generator type, are you tending your energy to the things that are lighting you up? It's
Mhm.
like really leaning into these aspects of you and how you're designed in order to start to positively impact your I don't say start. I don't say that people aren't positively,
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
To
But
greater impact.
yeah. And so as a generator, I love getting all the signs that I'm on the right track, right?
Mhm.
And so this idea had been formulating that I wanted to talk about it last couple days, but then really
Mhm.
yesterday when I reached out to you, and then this morning I was like, okay, I'm really gonna try to get my thoughts together somewhat. So I was led to that quote by Karen Curry Parker, but then I think I was looking up something else on Instagram. I was looking up a specific person or account, and the first thing that came across my feed was by a woman that I follow who I love. Her name's Stephanie Keiko Kong. But her handle is at Pony Ponytail, and
Oh. Mhm.
she's amazing. And she really helps people with their voice and expressing it. She works with people who are people of color, of diverse backgrounds, of busting through patriarchy, but also the colonization mindset, all this stuff, right?
Mhm.
But anyways, she made a reel that was talking about what you said. I wanted to, how you get back to center is you create
Mm-hmm.
something you want to make art or do
Yeah.
something creative.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly the sentiment she was saying. She's like, you can doom scroll, give yourself the time to do that, set a timer, but then you need to create. Because she said, as a creator, she said, we hold the vision of that which has not been seen yet. And it
Mm-hmm.
can be uncomfortable and it can feel um, confusing. But the point is to make something, to create something. She said, even like make a lasagna, go crochet, do something simple. But it's really to prove to yourself that you do make things, that you
Mm-hmm.
create things. And if you want to look for evidence that the world is a shitty place, you're going to find it, right?
Yes. Confirmation bias.
But that, yes, but now's not the time for that. Now's the time, she says, for building and creating.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the sentiment exactly also that I love it. Other people can help me find the words or help me like hone in what has been trying to come
Mm-hmm.
through. But that piece that she just said, prove to yourself that you make things, you create things,
Mm-hmm.
because we lose touch with that we are at the core as human beings, we're creators, every single one of us.
Yeah.
We create our reality. And how do we prove we do that? Well, we take an idea in our head, we make something, we create it.
Mm-hmm.
This world we're living in right now that we don't like was created through our thoughts, our
Through
feelings,
fear.
our fear. We have jumped the timeline. We've gone into a different place
Kind
now.
of off the rails.
Jumped the shark. Um, but now it's at that point for
Mm-hmm.
real. Which one are you going to be a part of? Which one do you
Yeah.
want to help create? And are you going to bring along as many people with you as you can? And just from the law of like physics, quantum physics, uh, vibration, entrainment, all those things, frequency finds frequency, does it not?
Mm-hmm.
Resonance?
Frequencies, they like to jive.
That's right. And it's usually on the trajectory of lower frequencies coming up to higher frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you are living in your design and you are creating and you are being the fullest expression of you, which is going to naturally radiate at a higher or resonate or vibrate at a higher frequency because
Mm-hmm.
you personally are excited, you are fulfilled, you are carrying that energy of love and hope and positivity. I mean, you don't even have to be positive all the time. Get pissed. Anger is a creative energy. It is.
Hello, look where we are
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. It's way better to be angry than to just be depressed and sad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get angry. Get angry about things. Make angrier. I don't care. But I love disruptive things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, you being yourself and bringing that vibration with you, because we all know how we feel, how we felt on November 6th, and we felt defeated and small and just, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel when you're at your best and you know that you are absolutely doing something that you were born to do, that you
Mm-hmm.
love to do, and above all else, when you're doing something that actually, by being yourself, helps others? Like,
Yeah.
there's, you can't bottle that feeling. We could try to tap into that energy that could run the world. And that's what we're here to do. And we just got to keep our eyes
Mm-hmm.
on the prize of where we want to be. And
Yeah.
I know it's fake Latin or bad Latin or whatever they call it, and I can't even say what it is. But it was in The Handmaid's Tale, the Latin where it translates to "Don't let the
Oh.
bastards get you down" kind of thing. That's where
Yeah.
I go back to. Is just
Mm-hmm.
like, don't let the bastards get you down, grind
Yeah.
you down. That's what it is, grind you down. We have choices.
Yeah.
We still do, and that's I had to remind
Mm-hmm.
somebody else the other day. There was an election. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. We still have every moment to make a choice until, if we get complacent, we don't. So,
Mm-hmm.
any other thoughts you wanted to bring into this
Mm.
conversation, Haley?
I mean, that was kind of the headspace that I was in the day after the election, I was like, I can't like stop fighting. I can be
Yeah.
sad and defeated about it now, but that just means I can't stop.
Yeah.
Um, and then also I wanted to say, for me, being the reason that I think I moved towards more creative things to get myself back in check is because doing those creative things, I'm creating joy for myself.
Yes.
So I'm trying to bring myself up, and it's just, I love doing it.
Yes. It's
Hmm.
it's important. I love that.
Hmm.
Okay, well then, Haley, let's wrap this up. So with our special segment we do. So what time is it, Haley?
The Incarnation Cross of the Week.
I love that you can still do that. Every time. Every time it's like brand new. That's right. We are going to do the Incarnation Cross of the week. As we said, these are very important and
Hmm.
because they are the encapsulation of your sun and earth energies on both sides of your chart. They are really kind of the signature theme of your life. They are the energy that is going to always be present in you that really is um, also seen as like your purpose in life. I mean, there's more to you than just this, but this is definitely a signature that everybody has their own, carries it through them through their life. There's 192 variations, and just every week we try to highlight one.
Hmm.
So this week we are highlighting the right angle cross of penetration.
Ooh.
Sounds very
Is
severe.
it one? Penetration one or
It's just, yeah, it's just.
okay.
And so this cross consists of on the personality side of your chart, the right hand side where the black numbers are, the sun is in gate 51, shock. The
Okay.
earth is in gate 57, intuition. And then on the design side, on the red side, the earth, oh, excuse me, the sun is in gate 54, ambition. And the earth is in gate 53, beginnings.
So we have shock, intuition, ambition, and beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a simple one words to remember this time.
Yeah. No direction of the self or any of
Yeah.
that stuff. That's right. Okay. So if you were born under the right angle cross of penetration, your purpose is to be a catalyst for transformation, to step beyond the familiar and inspire others to do the same. You're here to shake up stagnant energies and reveal new perspectives, helping people break free from limiting beliefs and embrace possibilities they hadn't considered before. With your deep intuition and clear insights, you bring people back to their authentic truth, aligning them with what resonates at a soul level. You're a guide and initiator, here to unlock the potential within others by reconnecting them with their higher purpose and spiritual source. Through your intuitive gifts, you illuminate the path to self discovery, encouraging people to shed illusions that keep them from fully realizing their potential. Your journey is one of teaching and inspiring others to construct and manifest the life they dream of as they connect with the power that lies within themselves. By embodying this energy, you open doors for people to transform and evolve, leaving them more aligned and connected with who they are truly meant to be.
Mm.
We need you.
Yeah. Help.
We need you. And so, anyways, that's that. So, as we wrap up this day's episode, just want to really encourage everybody out there to really dig into your design. If you need help with that, I do have a few offerings. There's now the Human Design Guidebook available for sale, which will go into every aspect of your chart,
Hmm.
giving
Hmm.
you your own tailored report that you can keep coming back to when you have questions, especially when we're talking about these higher and lower expressions of certain energies. It has the all of your gates listed, like when they're in balance and when they're out of balance, what that looks like, so you can kind of do a check in now and then to see how you're doing. Um, so that's available, but then also you can book a session with me where we can look at your human design. My sessions are have evolved more into as I lean into my own design
Hmm.
of yes, there's the information, but really it's kind of a conversation that we have where we can really hone in on whatever it is that you want to focus on. And there's a intuitive aspect to that of what can come through in the moment that you need to hear in regards to your design, but also what, maybe the universe is trying to help communicate with you at this
Mm-hmm.
time. That's what those sessions look like. So you can check all that out in the show notes. All the offerings are there. And anything else, Haley?
Mm, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you being here and keep up the good fight.
Bring the love.
Bring the love and the hate. Oh, all right. Well, love you, Haley, and talk to you later. Bye for now.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye. You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.